Hey everybody, Bill in Virginia. Welcome back. So I am going to get started slapping down more Sculptamold. I'll be able to get this area done easily in this video, and probably the plaster work too. The only thing I have to do before I start is I've got to get some wax paper and kind of put across the seams there so that I can make sure I got a nice tight joint between existing scenery and the new scenery. So from a geologic perspective, I'll tell you what I'm going to do here. So over in this area, you can see that the rocks are going in at an angle, and they're still, pretty steep to them. So the rock layers are going in like this. Now we get over to here, and this is a continuation of the rock that's like up there. The rock is doing near vertical, but it's also coming this way. So this area will be modeled so that the rocks that are over there coming like this sweep and curve up. Most of that will be done just using plaster to represent that transition, so that the rock, not thinking this, but think of this as the entire layout. Rocks are going like this. So bedding planes, near vertical over this way, kind of come in this direction over here, not so vertical, but they do meet. What this is a plunging syncline. So in geology, synclines are like troughs in the rock, where the rocks have been bent, folded to an extent, and they're, just from our perspective, are going down. And they can be plunging. They can go like that, or they can come like this. Mine's going like this. An anticline is just the opposite. It is like a dome or an arch in how the bedrock lays. So different structure. So what I'm doing is I'm modeling a syncline. Should be pretty good. So like right in this area, the rocks are going to essentially be just face on, like flat, like I'm exposing a bedding plane. So I'm not going to do a whole lot right in here. Then on each side, I will get it where I will have the rock layers modeled so that, kind of going like this and then like this, and then sort of coming up a little bit. Should be interesting when I get done with it. And most of it's going to be hidden by scenery, so it's going to be subtle. Only if you're looking for it will you see it. But I've got the track covered. I'll get some wax paper, and then this afternoon I'll get started on it. It's supposed to be a rainy day here in Richmond, so a perfect afternoon to spend in the garage. Early Sunday afternoon, ready to start putting Sculptamold in place. I have my like baking parchment in between the two different modules of the layout. What I will do is I'm going to start applying Sculptamold right up along the parchment up here and down here, and then I'll work my way this way. Once that sets on this whole area a little bit, then I'll come back in and take additional Sculptamold and finish off in and around here and pushing into that parchment. I will leave the parchment in place. Same thing up here. That way I've got that gap filled. It's going to be visible, but it'll be a tight seam. And then I can come back in and do plaster work, which should make it mostly disappear. And then some well-placed trees, like right here, should be able to hide the bulk of the seam a little bit higher. I can do some ground cover, some stuff to hide it on this side. So I should be able to make that seam mostly disappear. But let's start putting some Sculptamold on and see how it looks here in a little bit. Been about 15 minutes since the last video segment. I think I've got 4 little tubs of Sculptamold put on here already. You can kind of see how it's starting to take the shape of the pink foam board. You can also see near vertical lines as I'm pulling my putty knife up and over it. This will all be covered by plaster, but I can kind of rough in some of the textures. You can see where I've pushed it up nice and tight on the parchment paper, and then on the other side, it's nice and tight there. So I'll be able to kind of get that worked in pretty easily once I get to that stage. So I'm gonna keep putting Sculptamold on. I will get the Sculptamold on and finished in this area, and then we'll come back and take a look at it before I get started on plaster work. So I've been out here now, a little over an hour. I've got the Sculptamold on. I have come back in with some additional Sculptamold in a few areas to start building up the landforms. This should give me some good texture that I can work off of with the plaster. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit for a little bit. Then I'm going to come back in and I will fold over the parchment and I will finish up adding Sculptamold over on the other side, on the other module, just to make sure that's done. This will dry a little while, but maybe yet this afternoon I might start doing some plastering and carving. We'll see. We'll just see how the day plays out. But more to come. I think for the plaster, I am going to set up and do some time lapse. Should be kind of interesting. I've got my little tripod set up there, so we should be able to see as I move across here. This should not take too long to at least get most of the plaster in that I'm wanting to do. Famous last words again. Let's see how it goes. Time lapse is a lot of fun. So I've got this done. I'm going to let it sit for just a little bit, and I will bring the wire brush back and give it a once over. But you can kind of see what I'm trying to do. You can notice a little feature here that looks like a nose. So that's sort of the point of the direction that the rocks are going, or at least, you know, for this syncline. It's like the nose of it, and then you can see it widens out down here, and then I've got corresponding rock layers like here going up, and then similar over here going up, and then more here that sort of align with, you know, others that are over here. So this looks pretty good. I don't think I need to add much of anything else. The texture will be okay. The wire brush will add some character to it, and it is, it's dry enough. I'll take the wire brush to it, and I think I'll be able to start staining here fairly soon. Wire brush is the easy part. Again, using my little soft suede one, and just kind of pull. You can hear it knocking off the nubblies. It will add some texture, and I can run it onto the Sculptamold part as well. And this just gets rid of the high points, adds a little bit of character to the other pieces. And then I'll come back in with the vacuum cleaner and clean up all the stuff that's fallen, and of course clean the floor in and around as well. And when the brush starts to load up a little bit, then it leaves additional texture on the Sculptamold pieces. So, you know, when it loads up a little bit, you don't want it to load up completely, but a little loading is actually good because then you can use it other places. I may come back in and just add a little bit more plaster here just to kind of smooth this up. The other areas are looking okay. That's a little bit too oatmeal. So I'll probably change that up ever so slightly. And that's easy to do. Just a small batch. see how the texture of the rocks are there and how the bedding planes are going that way. And then I get over here and they go this way and here that way. So exactly what I'm after. While it's still quasi-damp, you can get a variety of textures out of it. And you notice how, you see in the grooves? That's exactly what I'm after here. And if I get enough on that brush, I actually come back over. Yeah, I might not have to mix up another batch. I can probably get by with this. Just put it in there. I might add just a little bit yet here. And you can see the brush. So once I'm done, I will just let the brush set, let it dry, and then I'll use that small knife, putty knife that I was using for carving, to essentially scrape off the hardened plaster that's on the brush and be done. In fact, let me see if I've got any plaster that's still pliable in my container there. So I'm going to shut this off and just see if I've got enough, a little bit dry or wet yet, that I can put there. Then I'll come back to this. So there, a little bit of additional plaster in that area kind of took care of the lumpy oatmeal look. There's still some, but I want some in there. Gives it a different texture as I'm working the materials here. But this area is in pretty good shape. I'll take the little wire brush and go over this just a little bit, let it dry just a little bit more before I give it another little pass. Then I will get another batch of Sculptamold and do the little pack in on this side. You notice I did cut these a little bit just to kind of make it fit a little bit better. So I can get that done here pretty quick. So this is coming along nice. Get rid of some of the other nubblies with that wire brush, give everything another good buff. And I used up 1 container of plaster of Paris. So when I started this, I had about 1/3 of a box left that I used. And then I've used a full one of these. I've still got another full box, which I'm not gonna need much. I'm only gonna need a little bit as I'm doing some of the additional rock work down here once I get the fascia on, and then a few areas of rock work over on the other side. So, you know, I'm getting by with about what I was estimating for materials. So anyway, let me wire brush this again, just to get rid of the rest of the nubblies. And then I will come in and vacuum and go on to the next step over here. About 20 minutes later, and I have the stains on the rock. Now I am going to come back in with the wads of paper towels and blot this off, and we'll see what our final product looks like here. So stains are wiped off, and the texture rock outcrops I'm happy with. I'll be able to do a lot of modeling along there. Now, you will notice the colors don't match up exactly. That's okay. What I'm gonna do is I will let this dry, and I'll come back in and I'll put some more stain on top of it. It's the same colors, but I will darken it up a little bit for about that first foot as I'm kind of coming in. Just to kind of give it a little bit of a darker hue. Still want some of it lighter color, which is perfectly fine. You know, and a lot of that is going to be hidden by scenery, so it will blend very well by the time I get done with it. But in case you're wondering, yeah, it's slightly different colors. Again, same stains, same materials. You know, it's just the degree of dryness, and it's kind of a damp day. So once it dries a little bit, I can come back in and top coat it, and it will darken up. So I'm happy with the results. The rocks look nice. you know, for O-scale, by the time I get trackside details done, I get a whole bunch of trees up along the On30. Yeah, this is going to be good. I'm happy with it. There, the colors match up a lot better. I came back in and added a top coat of stain, and I'm just going to let it dry on the rocks. So come over this way. You can see that the colors align much better. You know, once I get ground cover in and along here, you're not going to see that bottom part. You know, I'll get ground cover in on the top that aligns with what I've got over here. You know, little gorges, little cracks, crevices. So you're only going to see really that part, which blends in pretty good. So I'm happy with that. Now I will just let this dry thoroughly. And after it does, then I'll come back in and vacuum up more nubblies. And then, you know what? This side is ready to have the track painted. And well, I got to get more boards for the fascia. But I'm going to be going into the next phase of scenery here fairly quick. We'll go on the other side and put in some Sculptamold, finish up the top part, because then I can start doing scenery there as well. We'll vacuum under the trestle a little bit. I haven't gotten anything under there yet, but we'll clean up the nubblies that have come down during the different construction phases. Areas where I'm lacking a little bit of paint or stain, that I will come back in with some acrylic paints, and a little paintbrush, and I will take care of those individually. But I'm happy with this. It's looking pretty good. So let's see what else I can do on this video. So this is going to wrap up this video. I have just come back in and put Sculptamold on the other side of the module border. And I've kind of carved it up. I'm not going to add any plaster. You know, I think this will work. So now I will just let this sit for actually probably a day or two. Let it firm up, then I'll come in and I will stain it. Then I will let that sit for a little bit, and then I will pull the module apart and take out the parchment and see how the seam looks. But I am ready to start doing some scenery on this. After I, of course, vacuum up the nubblies, I'll take the tape off the track and you know, vacuum. But I think I can start doing some ground cover. You know, I still have to get my fascia vacuum in there, but yeah, I'll do a little Sculptamold on the other side. But I'm ready to start doing some more of the scenery. So this is looking good. I'm having some fun with this. So anyway, keep having fun on your layouts. Until next time.